Hey guys, how's it going? This is Campo and welcome back to my channel. So on today's video, I'm going to be narrating our most recent Alliance war. This was a 10 fight war for me. We are in tier 2 and I'm taking path 1. So this first fight had Archangel's name written all over it. The only thing you need to worry about is the Vigorous Assault at the very beginning of the fight, where Professor X is going to be unblockable. But if you just kind of dodge him, you can totally get through that. As you can see there, I just hit him one time to get the falter going, and then you just sort of back off and you don't have to deal with that. And now that I'm starting to get some neurotoxins on him, it's going to be an easy fight the rest of the time. Don't have to worry about regen, don't have to worry about falter, don't have to worry about healing and unblockable and anything like that. Pretty much one more special attack and this dude is going to go down in just 40 seconds. So yeah, Professor X can be moderately annoying, but on a node like that where he doesn't have that much HP, Archangel's just going to tear him apart. So no issues there. For this next fight, we have Killmonger on Masochism. And again, I think I'm going to talk a little bit more about the path identity and like why I chose this team a little bit later in this video. But for this case, the best option I have is also Archangel here. And the key with Masochism is you have to be patient at the beginning of the fight. So like you need to set the cooldown timer so that you can apply some of your bleeds. You don't really have to worry about doing any damage in this first phase. I don't really care that I'm proccing the indestructible. I'm just trying to heavy counter, get some bleeds, and then we parry to get the poison, trying to set a neurotoxin or two, and we do get 2. Have to be very careful with that power meter because he does gain power when you debuff him. But now that we have 4 neurotoxins, it's going to be a pretty easy time the rest of the way. He's just ticking down and down. We have to be a little careful at the end of this fight. I don't think he's just going to die from the damage, so I do one more parry heavy, and with that and the ticking down of the damage over time, he is going down. So no big issues there, but like I said, you do have to be a little careful at the beginning of the fight with someone like Killmonger there, so that you don't take too much damage, he doesn't gain too much power, and he doesn't regen back the Masochism. Okay, so this next fight is a little bit of a throwaway fight. There's nothing difficult about this node. Basically, if you repeat the same actions too many times with your combos, then the defender is going to be gaining lots of passive furies. And basically, as long as you play well, it's not the end of the world. But I can see why they put someone like Coruvs here, because yeah, if you do slip up, if you take some hits into the block, if you do take a combo to the face, those furies could potentially one-shot you if you do get hit. Now I do have Dr. Doom today because he's going to come in handy a little bit later on my path, and so it just made sense for me to take this fight. And when you're fighting another cosmic like Corvus, it's just like normal Dr. Doom cycles, you know, medium, medium, light, 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 medium, medium, throw the special 1, gain the 2 bars of power back, throw the unblockable special 2, and I know that this damage is going to kill him, but just to be safe, I do heavy attack him one more time to knock him down and get his glaive immunity off him. And yeah, no issues there. I barely even took any health off, which is really nice because I do have to use Dr. Doom a few more times. So next up, this is EMP Modification, which has potential to be a difficult node. But here's like a little pro tip if you're placing defense. If Dr. Doom can do this fight, then it's going to be no problem at all because Dr. Doom is super tanky, really good champ, can control the fight, and he is immune to shock. So really there are no issues when you use Dr. Doom here. So the fact that they placed a very easy to fight cosmic like Venom, Dr. Doom's just going to completely handle this fight. There's almost nothing to worry about except that there is the burden of might node, I believe, which means, you know, I do have to be a little careful about proccing dexterity. But yeah, in general, we're just going to do the same formula that we did with that last Corvus fight. I figure that 1 special 2 should be able to knock this guy out. He's only a 5-star. So he's not super tanky, and you know, I don't have to worry about baiting a special 2 or anything because of the power control. So we do the same thing. We steal his power because he didn't have a full bar. We didn't quite get to 2 bars, but there, because of Mystic Dispersion, it pushed me to 2 bars, and I figured that special 2 should take care of business, and Venom is down. So again, Another very standard Dr. Doom fight, nothing really going on there. And now we are moving on to section 2. So this first fight, you know, basically with this path, you have to kind of decide, am I going to counter the champion or am I going to counter the regeneration? Because almost all the fights have some form of regen on them. And in this case, I'm going to counter the champ. It's Annihilus. He can be a little annoying to fight. He does have Vigor, which I can control with Nullify. But I would rather just have someone who can shut down Annihilus. And let me tell you a little bit about how I use Dr. Doom against him. Like most champions, my goal at the beginning is to step back, light, intercept. So we get it there. Then we throw a medium into a heavy. So we get a stagger. Then I take a blocked hit, which gives unstoppable. The unstoppable is staggered and the rod is gone. So again, you need to step back light, then you need to medium into heavy to get the stagger, and then you basically take a blocked hit, so the unstoppable comes, and then the unstoppable is staggered, which removes the rod. And then once the rod is removed, you just have to be a little careful, which obviously I was not because I just took some hits to the face there. But that was just a little mistake of a mistimed parry there. But yeah, as long as you have the stagger up, you will never have him get the rod back. And what I'm doing now, I'm just being a little cautious because I want to make sure before I throw this special 3 that he has a stagger on him and that he's not going to get the rod back. Because if I'm not mistaken, he does have some resistance to the power control if he has the rod. And if that's the case, you could get in a lot of trouble because your power drains aren't going to work. But fortunately, I'm totally covered. And yeah, because Annihilus is a little annoying when he gets the rod back, if you're not being careful, you could run into some trouble. So I'm trying to time when is the best time to throw this big special 2 to kill him. And I honestly could have done it earlier, but because I was boosted, but that totally knocked him out and it was no issue at all. So yeah, Dr. Doom, that was the last fight that I needed to use Dr. Doom on. So I wasn't too concerned about conserving health. I did take a couple hits, but all he needed to do was survive. I didn't really mind if I lost any HP. Okay, so this one is Buffet, but it also has Lionheart. So, you know, Human Torch can do it with the pre-fight, but not with his normal non-pre-fight. So I'm looking to see if I have any combat regeneration boosts, because the way Lionheart works is if you put any debuffs on the opponent that will reduce their healing, you're going to take some degen. So when you use Archangel, the poison counts toward that ability, and you're going to take some like mandatory degen basically. So you'll see I'm willing to take that degen because I know he'll go down otherwise. As soon as that poison comes, I'm going to lose about 20% health. But the goal here is to try to get these neurotoxins going so that I can basically turn off that ability for the rest of the fight. And as you can see, I pretty much have, because I've got these big boosts on, these neurotoxins are ticking for a crazy amount. And Dr. Doom just went down in 30 seconds there. So I will say one time I used Magneto on that node and Dr. Doom had Mystic Dispersion, and all of my prowess and unstoppable buffs going down. It was a huge issue, dude. I pushed him to a special 3. So even though you might think Magneto is the way to go, yeah, Archangel, just take a little bit of the degen from Lionheart. You're not going to die. Combat regen will definitely help, but you don't need it. And as you can see, he went down super quick. And I don't have to use Archangel for the rest of the war either, so we're good. Okay, so now we've got Thing, and he's got Buffet. I kind of have a rocky start to this fight. I'm trying not to proc Dexterity. There I make a little bit of a mistake. I do proc Dexterity, and you know, the goal with Stubborn Quaking is that you want to try to land a parry right before the Aftershock timer hits, so that the indestructible goes away. Now, in general, when I'm quaking, I'm much more comfortable doing what they call the quake and shake, which is like heavy dex only. So as soon as I need to start landing parries, I actually get a little shakier with quake. I could quake Thing all day with just heavy dex, but I do need to try to land these parries so that I do the damage. So now I'm starting to get into a cycle where I'm doing some damage. The other pro tip is you might be like, well, how are you doing Dexterity and not proccing Buffet on this fight? And the reason is if you can just get a Dexterity stuck on you with Quake, which can happen during the buffet cooldown timer, or it can also happen during a concussion that lasts for a long time. You can proc a dexterity and it's going to stick on you. That dexterity will never get nullified by buffet. So that's sort of my pro tip. You don't have to worry about it unless if you drop a heavy and you lose that dexterity. You're never going to proc buffet and it just becomes a normal fight. So now I'm starting to get into the rhythm. You know, I'm landing these parries, which, as I said, is a little difficult for me. For some reason, I've always struggled with quake and bake, or whatever they call it, which is when you have to land these parries. But if you can parry the opponent and they're stubborn, and you'll see that it totally works out. So I only need to land one more parry pretty much, and then we're going to be good to go. This last little aftershock should kill him. And yeah, it was a 2-minute fight. It was a near perfect fight. I messed up a couple of my aftershock cycles, but as you will see in some of these later fights too, the fact that you have a 5-minute timer to get through the Alliance War, it really makes Quake a viable option. You can be very patient and get through the fight. So next up, we have another thing, and aside from having a little bit more health, this is going to be an identical strategy for this fight. So he has Rage, which I'm never going to proc with Quake because I'm not hitting into him. So as you can see here, as I'm making my way to the wall, I'm dashing back at the perfect time to not proc dexterity. I know that I'm going to have to parry soon, but fortunately he doesn't even get to that point. So we got our first aftershock cycle. I like to heavy dex a little bit toward the beginning of the aftershock cycle, and then we have to start landing our parries again. So far this one's going perfectly. But yeah, as I was saying, you have 5 whole minutes to get this fight down. So like if you miss a few of your aftershock cycles, there he threw a heavy, which got a little scary, but you know, as you can see there, like I was saying, like he was indestructible, so I missed out on all the damage on my aftershock cycle. I'm gonna miss it here as well, but because of that 5-minute timer, it doesn't matter. Like you just keep going, you try to survive the fight. You know that if you're comfortable parrying the next time, that you're going to be able to get that big damage again. And yeah, right there, we're only 1 minute into the fight. He's about you know, a quarter of the way down. We just have to kind of keep up this tempo. And you know, I do want to use Quake for the remaining mini bosses as well. So you know, I'm trying my best to not take too much chip damage aside from the parries. But finally, my parry timing is working a little bit better, and you know, we're feeling pretty good. So while this fight plays out, I do want to just talk a little bit about Path 1 in general. It does have the ability to be like a pretty easy path in general, because there are so many great counters to healing. And, you know, because it's a healing path, you do need to worry about Buffet and Vigorous Assault, Arc Overload, Vigor, Masochism, and also Lionheart. So yeah, I do make a mistake there. First time I took a couple hits in this war for Quake, but you know, that's going to happen. It's hard to play perfectly for like 3 straight minutes. But I do get the fight back in control. Anyway, as I was saying, you have to kind of make a decision about who the best counters are on your team. Usually Void, Magneto, Archangel can sort of take care of everybody. You know, Archangel and Magneto are a great team together because if they're metal, they're probably bleed immune, so you would use Magneto. And then if they aren't metal, then likely they are able to be bled and poisoned, and you can use Archangel. So the two of them really take care of a lot, but I do often bring Void as well. I do occasionally bring Human Torch. And in general, I feel like my Quake likes to live in AQ more than Alliance War recently. However, in a war like this, where so many of these mini bosses are Quakeable, as you can see, that took about 3 minutes. So it was a bit of a marathon, but we got it done. You know, if you can bring Quake, all the better. And in this case, I had 3 Cosmics, and I decided to bring Dr. Doom because he can also counter the Vigor node with his Nullify and Buff control. So, you know, you really just have to make the best decision for yourself and know which mini bosses you're going to take. And speaking of mini bosses, we have 2 more to go. And this next one is going to be Warlock. And this was a little bit of a gift to us because if you don't know, Warlock is actually a stubborn defender, meaning that he's not going to be proccing the indestructible. However, I do get a little nervous when I Quake Warlock, because he's very, very aggressive at the very start of the fight. So I do proc an indestructible boost. What I'm talking about is you have to be a little careful. He likes to throw like multiple hit combos when he's getting you to the wall. As you can see there, he threw a 4-hit combo, and if I wasn't on my toes, I probably would have gotten shut down by him. But, you know, this reminds me of the old days when in the flow wars, when they would put Warlock on nodes like this. But as you can see, I am much more comfortable just doing like the heavy deck style with Quake, which is like only, what do they call it? Quake and Shake, where I'm not trying to land parries. As you can see, I'm getting way more aftershock, way more damage. I don't ever have to worry about the indestructible. But yeah, the only reason I popped that invulnerability boost was because sometimes the animations on Warlock can kind of screw you up. He's like really gangly, and I have made mistakes in previous wars in like earlier seasons when I was first learning Quake. So I always get a little nervous when you have Warlock. But as you can see, I totally didn't even need that boost because this fight is going perfectly. I don't think I make any mistakes except for that one accidental parry that I had. But yeah, Warlock, as I said, a little bit of a gift to us on this node because he's not stubborn. And I firmly believe for all these mini bosses, you should play stubborn defenders so that you have an even better chance of getting some kills. But I'm averaging somewhere between like 15 and 18 stacks of the earthquakes every time these aftershocks happen. And yeah, that was a gift to us. So all right, so then back in our battle group chat, we were discussing who was going to take the Sasquatch, and we did have a Human Torch. We did have some rank 3 Dr. Dooms, who I think would have been good, but we were talking, and like I had just done 3 really solid Quake fights. I was kind of warmed up. My boost expired, but I did put like a small boost on this one, and yeah, I decided to go for it. You have a little bit less room for error in this fight because he does have increased power gain, so if you accidentally get hit, he's going to get to a special attack. And the other thing to worry about with this Sasquatch is that when he goes into the Wrath mode, you actually, he becomes stun immune, so you're not able to land parries. So you have to decide to either like completely forego doing any damage and just get through the Wrath, or you need to try to land parries that won't stun him, just like well-timed blocks. So, you know, like I've said in the last few fights, I know that I have 5 minutes. So even though I just like missed an entire aftershock cycle because of the indestructible, I'm just playing it slow. I know that eventually he's going to go down because I fought Sasquatch a lot. I take some hits there. That was a little scary. I really am just worried that he's going to get to 1 bar of power if I take any more hits. So now fight's getting a little scary. We're over a minute in. I haven't done too much damage. He's in the Wrath mode, so he's basically stun immune now. And like I said, I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to heavy dex. I know I'm not doing any damage, just trying to get through this Wrath phase. Okay, the Wrath phase is over, so now I can start parrying again. He's throwing some weird combos at me, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing. Fortunately, I finally get an aftershock cycle where there's some damage. Again, trying to land a parry. Can I land it? I do land a parry there. There we go. Big aftershock cycle. My goal now is just to focus, not get hit anymore, and see what I can do. Ironically, I did have an indestructible boost when I fought the Warlock and didn't need it. And as you're going to see soon, I probably could have used it for him because I do take a couple hits. So here we go again. I land the parry. This time we do get the aftershock cycle going. He's under 50%, but he does proc Wrath one more time. So now the goal is just normal quaking. I take a blocked hit. He throws a heavy. That was a little bit of a scary moment, but good reaction time. So I kind of give up any hope of trying to do any damage during that Wrath phase. I do take 1 hit, but fortunately he gets stunned right away and it's not the rest of the combo. And here we go. We're getting down to the final stretch here. My heart is racing. I haven't taken this node in a really long time, and I don't think I've ever fought Sasquatch here. he's just big, he's tough to parry sometimes, and you know, it's really disconcerting when the fight goes on this long and you're not doing that much damage. He's just got so much HP. But now we're finally getting down to the end. I know that all I need to do is land a couple more parries and we should be good to go. I'm hoping that this one will kill him, and fortunately it does. It took about 3 minutes, just like that other thing fight that we had. And yeah, I can take a deep breath because we were able to get through it. So yeah, that's the end of this war. I took on 10 fights, path 1. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and leave a comment, subscribe, help me out, guys. Hopefully I can make more content like this in the future. But I appreciate all your viewership and support, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.